It is Friday, February 14th, 2025, and President Trump has unleashed the Doge team on the IRS, instructing them to enter the building and find the waste, fraud, and abuse and cut it out. Also, RFK Jr. officially confirmed as our new HHS secretary. This is huge. This makes Donald Trump the most powerful president in living memory. Every one of his cabinet nominees thus far confirmed. And establishment Washington, furious. The big pharma industrial complex, furious. The largest donors from the big pharma lobby, furious. Like Elizabeth Warren, like Mitch McConnell. We'll show you, including Trump's reaction, which was epic. And Donald Trump has just enacted reciprocal tariffs globally, bringing a massive shakeup around the world. Why has nobody in legacy media reported on this? But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel, and consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. President Trump's number one weapon right now is Elon Musk and Doge. Hands down, his off-book auditing whiz team, who has been going department by department across our federal government, finding the low-hanging fruit and cutting it out, saving our tax dollars. And thus far, a lot of them, 100 billion plus, has been saved annually in just 3.5 weeks. A few days ago, they found $59 million that FEMA illegally sent to New York City to house illegal aliens in these 5-star hotels. That was an illegal payment. Trump's EO halted all federal aid to illegal immigrants. Doge found that. And the people at FEMA responsible, who Trump then fired and had perp walked out of the building. Accountability is returning, and they didn't just stop there. They clawed that money back. They got our money back. Trump got our tax dollars back. Watch the New York City comptroller yesterday telling reporters how the Trump administration just took $80 million back, disappeared, poof, from their New York City account. Watch this.
This is highway robbery. This is the federal government having already allocated, authorized, awarded, invoiced, and paid $80.5 million to the city of New York. And then Elon Musk, with no legal authority, seizing it back.
I don't know about you, but that's pretty damn refreshing to hear. Somebody finally watching out for our money. And it gets even better. Yesterday, President Trump announced he has unleashed his genius Doge brigade on the IRS, ordering them to enter the building, find and cut the waste, fraud, and abuse, which we know it's packed to the rafters at that agency after the Biden administration, how they allocated $80 billion. Biden gave the IRS $80 billion more in our tax dollars to do what? Hire 87,000 new IRS agents to go collect even more money from us. Trump saying, how does it feel to be on the other side of the microscope, sending Doge to sit these IRS managers down and ask them questions about how they're spending our money? Saying as soon as they do this, they instantly get tongue-tied. Watch.
Mr. President, Doge workers arrived today, Gavin Klager and others arrived today at the IRS. Do you expect to close the IRS, or what are you expecting?
No, I don't expect it, but I think that the Internal Revenue Service will be looked at like everybody else. Just about everybody's going to be looked at. So it's they're doing a hell of a job. It's an amazing job they're doing. And, you know, that force is building these, I call it the force of super geniuses, but it's building. And, you know, they go up and they talk to some of the people about certain deals, and the people get all tongue-tied. They can't talk because these people get it. They're very smart people. We need smart people, yes.
In another story, RFK Jr. has been officially confirmed as our next Secretary of Health and Human Services. 2 months ago, when President Trump announced his cabinet nominees, nobody in mainstream circles thought it was even possible that they would be confirmed. Ask anyone in DC politics. RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard had no chance, no freaking chance at being confirmed. Well, they have been. The power dynamic has shifted completely. This makes Donald Trump probably the most powerful president in living memory. RFK Jr. wasn't confirmed because the Senate thought he was the most qualified person, even though, in my opinion, he's pretty qualified for this job. Most of these senators, though, do what they're told. They do what they're told by their donors and their handlers, and believe me, they tried to kill Kennedy's confirmation. What this means, though, is that they're more scared of crossing Trump than they are of crossing the old establishment guard. And Mitch McConnell, furious about it. The final vote on RFK Jr.'s confirmation was 52 yes votes to 48 no votes. All but one Republican voted yes. And guess who that one Republican was? Senator Mitch McConnell, who, according to CNN, lost his freaking mind. He has been neutered. His power is gone. Watch.
There was one very significant defection here in the United States Senate. That was Republican Mitch McConnell, the former GOP leader, someone who just put out a scathing statement about RFK Jr.'s views about the issue of vaccine. I'm going to read you part of it, Pamela. He said that he noted that he's a childhood survivor of polio, and he talked about how vaccines have saved millions of lives around the world. He said that he will not condone the relitigation of proven cures, and neither will millions of Americans. He goes on to say that, referring to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a record of trafficking in dangerous conspiracy theories and eroding trust in public health institutions does not entitle Mr. Kennedy to lead these important efforts, referring to efforts to try to treat illnesses and disease. He goes on to talk about the efforts to try to deliver on vaccines. He says Mr. Kennedy failed to prove he is the best possible person to lead America's largest health agency.
McConnell's now voting 99% of the time with Democrats, someone who used to command respect. It was said that Mitch McConnell could always swing a vote in his favor if he needed to, that he always had something up his sleeve, had something on each member of his caucus. Well, that power is gone. His power is gone, and good riddance. Realize it was McConnell who, in Trump's hour of need, during his impeachments, both of them, that was the guy who leveraged something out of Trump to prevent the Senate from prosecuting him. That's why Julian Assange and Edward Snowden weren't pardoned. Here's Donald Trump responding to Mitch McConnell in the Oval Office yesterday. This is great. Watch.
RFK Jr. as the next health secretary, citing conspiracy theories. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I feel sorry for Mitch. And I was one of the people that led. He wanted to go to the end, and he wanted to stay leader. He's not equipped mentally. He wasn't equipped 10 years ago mentally, in my opinion. He'd let the Republican Party go to hell. If I didn't come along, the Republican Party wouldn't even exist right now. Mitch McConnell never really had it. He had an ability to raise money because of his position as leader, which anybody could do. You could do it even, and that's saying a lot. But the fact is that he raised money, and he gave a lot of money to senators, and so he had a little loyalty based on the fact that as leader you could raise a lot of money. Senators would call me and they say, he wants to give me 20, 25 million. Can I take it? I'd say, take the money. Take the money. But he engendered a certain amount of, I don't even call it loyalty. He was able to get votes. But I was the one that got him to drop out of the leadership position, so he can't love me. But he's not voting against Bobby. He's voting against me, but that's all right. He endorsed me. Do you know that Mitch endorsed me, right?
Well, he did.
You think that was easy? What?
He had polio, obviously, and his.
I don't know. I don't know anything about he had polio. He had polio.
Are you doubting that he had polio?
I have no idea if he had polio. All I can tell you about him is that he shouldn't have been leader. He knows that. He voted against Bobby. He votes against almost everything now. He's a very bitter guy, and we have a very strong party. And he's almost not even really a very powerful member. I'd say he's not he's lost his power, and it's affected his vote.
In another story, House Republicans have struck a deal yesterday to cut $1.5 trillion from the budget. This after Democrat leadership announced they are ready to shut the government down to prevent these cuts. Well, the joke's on them, because the entire Republican caucus just got on board and announced a deal has been brokered. This is important because what this does, this resolution unlocks the budget reconciliation process, which means Republicans can now push Trump's policies forward without Democratic support. The budget resolution includes at least $1.5 trillion in spending cuts across government programs with a target of $2 trillion in deficit reduction. It also sets a $4.5 trillion cap on the deficit impact of extending these Trump tax cuts, the 2017 tax cuts, while also allocating $300 billion in additional funding for border security and the military. This comes as President Trump just enacted reciprocal tariffs across the globe. Huge deal. Any country that has or is imposing tariffs on the United States on our imports will face a reciprocal tariff in return to balance it out, which means no more trade deficits. Realize the United States has run a trade deficit since 1975, right around the time the WTO was created. This EO effectively kills the World Trade Organization, or at least pulls the United States out of it. Technically, that's what this does. It's a huge deal. Nobody even realized it or reported it, noticed it yesterday, but it's a big deal. U.S. media was virtually silent on it, but you know who wasn't? China. They noticed. Watch this.
China calling on Trump to reverse course, saying the tariffs, quote, harms the rights and interests of all countries, seriously undermines the rules-based multilateral trading system, and causes an impact on the global supply chain. Trump's answer.
China did it. I mean, China did it at a level that probably nobody's ever seen before. If you manufactured a car, you couldn't send it into China. The tariff was so high, so everybody went and they built in China.
This changes everything. It will have major implications economically, and to better explain what's happening, what this could mean, I can think of no one better than the president of Lear Capital, Kevin DeMeritt, my go-to source, Lear Capital, for buying physical gold and silver. I recorded this interview with Kevin on Zoom. The quality is not as good as I like, but it's an important interview. It'll shed light on what we can expect once these new tariffs go into effect. Watch this.
How are we doing?
I just wanted to get your take quickly on where you see things, where you think things stand right now. And just for the audience, we are big fans of Lear Capital on this channel, especially right now. Huge believer in precious metals like gold and silver. And with everything happening in the world with this new Trump era, moving toward a multipolar world means things are about to change. At least that's my take. But before getting into that, my audience may not be familiar with you guys. Tell us a little bit about you and Lear Capital.
Great question. So, with Lear Capital, I wanted to look at, how we could create a company that was a little bit different than everybody else. So, when you purchase other types of assets, stocks, bonds, what have you, you purchase, you hit the button or talk to your representative and you purchased. With Lear Capital, we give people a 24-hour risk-free purchase guarantee. I know a lot of people don't understand the gold market or silver markets. It's physical delivery, so it's actually yours. It's held in your possession or in an IRA. And we wanted people to feel comfortable. So when they do a purchase with us, we give everybody a 24-hour period. They can cancel for whatever reason. When they make that purchase, they get an invoice with the pricing on it, our fees, everything. And they have, like I said, 24 hours to kind of make that decision and educate themselves a little bit more if that's what they wanted to do. So we hope that helps. And, with all these years of trying to figure out what's going on in the markets, I think we do a pretty good job of trying to at least look ahead in the future. Can't give you an exact price, but I can tell you that the government debt's probably not going down anytime soon, especially with interest at $1 trillion a year on the federal side. So we feel pretty confident we're going to have a few good years here.
And why do you think right now in particular is such a good time to invest in physical gold and silver?
I think there's a couple of reasons. Number one, you still have these geopolitical tensions and war around the world, and I think some of this trade war issues with tariffs are probably going to make that a little bit worse. You have record bank selling dollars. Our dollar's down 24% since 2020. They continue to sell those dollars and they're buying gold. So they're the biggest buyers of gold in the world, and they continue to do so for the third straight year at record levels. I think that's going to accelerate with these tariffs. The tariff situation could drive inflation a little bit higher and keep interest rates a little higher than most people believe. And you have record consumer debt and record government debt all at the same time. Usually that's a precursor to some correction in the market. But really, and just to be clear, no one is going to be or take responsibility for your own retirement account, right? Like I said, we have $1 trillion interest payment. The government's borrowing money just to pay that interest. This isn't going to change. The financial system is under pressure that it cannot sustain. So if anyone thinks that someone else is going to step in and secure their retirement, I think they're living, a dangerous fantasy. The truth is, people have to take control. You have to get educated. You have to get prepared, because if you don't, you're going to face some consequences. And I'm not here to talk about fear. I'm just here to talk about reality, that if you're not making moves to protect and prepare, then you're leaving your retirement to chance. My personal opinion is hope is not a strategy. So get educated and act before things change in a negative to your financial future.
No, exactly. Exactly. And look, Trump and his team, they've hit the ground running. Even people who don't like the guy are giving him credit at just how organized they are this time around. What do you see coming economically speaking over the next 6 months, shorter term, longer term, during this Trump administration? And what impact do you think the Trump tariffs are going to have on gold and silver?
Yeah, that's a great question. Usually the hardest thing to do is also the right thing to do, right? Right now, President Trump is making decisions for the U.S. that most politicians before him didn't dare tackle. You look at tariffs. For years, other countries have been taking advantage of us. They've been imposing tariffs on our goods, and they've had free access to our markets. Trump is standing up to this and saying enough is enough. So it's the right thing to do, but what do you get out of that?
Exactly
Right?
right.
You possibly could get some inflation. You potentially could get some supply chain disruptions. You potentially could get higher interest rates. You could potentially get trade wars where they sell off dollars and so on and so forth. Again, is it the right thing to do? 100%. We have an unfair trade going back and forth with a lot of different countries, and we need to resolve it. So there's going to be some pain there if I had to guess. Again, right thing to do. The budget deficit. Trump wants to cut, he said, around $2 trillion in spending. Again, is it the right thing to do? 100%. But without question, there is going to be some ramifications. If you're a small business or a medium-sized business, you're doing business with the government and cut that spending, then you're going to have some issues. But the U.S. has been living far beyond our means for years. Again, right thing to do. Usually the hard thing to do is the right thing to do, and there could potentially be ramifications on the other side. You just need to understand them to get prepared for them. You can take advantage of them as opposed to live through some sort of disaster.
And one more question before I let you go. I know you're busy. What I've always felt personally is that everyone should own some gold and silver, and they can, right? Silver is cheap, extremely cheap. It's also pretty simple to take possession of. I buy it, Lear ships it directly to me. But for my viewers who are interested in using their IRA or 401k possibly to purchase physical gold and silver, what does that process look like?
Yeah, we make it real easy on everyone. So if you have an existing IRA or 401k plan and you would like to move, a portion of it over to the precious metals market, you simply fill out some paperwork. It's about 5 minutes worth of paperwork. The two custodians will transfer the money over to the new custodian for a physical delivery IRA. And then we get on the phone, talk it through with the customer, making sure that they understand everything, and that's exactly what they want. And once we do that, we put an invoice together, ship it off to them. Again, they have the 24 hours to cancel the transaction if they didn't understand anything. And then the physical gold is just delivered into your IRA. And it's the same as, having a stock or a bond. You pick up the phone, you give us a phone call if you want to sell it, if you want to purchase more, and we handle all the transactions for you. So it's a real simple process. We try to take all the heavy lifting out of it for everybody.
And again, you guys are always my go-to when it comes to investing in precious metals. In case the audience wants to reach out to you for some of your free information, how would they go about doing that?
Really, we're about education first. So we want everybody to get this information, get people informed so they can make decisions for themselves and their family. I recommend them giving us a call at 800-885-2175, or they can go to learrj.com And we have a new report. It's called $4,200 gold. It's our projection on the gold price based on tariffs, based on taxes, based on a bunch of economic information, including the debt, that I think people will find interesting, even if they don't purchase from us. And your program has been fantastic. I've been watching it for quite some time. It's very educational. We wanted to do something special. So if anybody does give us a phone call or visits that site and fills out the information, we're going to put a $250 credit in everybody's account that they can use for free shipping and insurance to get the physical gold to them, or they can use it for their IRA or 401k fees. There are some fees to start. We cover those with this credit. So wanted to do something special for your listeners to kind of get off on the right foot.
All right, well, look, here's what I'll do. I'll put a link to your website and the 800 number in the video description below. And look, we'll definitely have you back in the future. Thanks again for joining, Kevin.
Thanks for having me.